coming from like an immigrant background, especially an Asian background, your parents are always like, hey, you should go to school, get a good job, be a doctor, whatever it is, right? And then it's just never, I just didn't see myself doing that. Like,
This week, ABC did a study where one in, what was the statistic? There are 6 graduates for every entry-level role. So
really?
it's really hard to find your job. So you go and you go by the books, you go and study your high school, I don't know, do really well in your HSC, and shout out to all the HSC
strugglers
students.
out there.
Yeah, strugglers out there. They're almost finished, so this is going to be the best summer for you guys, don't worry. And then you go and study uni, and you look for some work experience, but employers with graduate roles, they're looking for experience, but no one's...
Yeah, there's always that catch-22, right?
Yeah, so,
Right.
James, can you tell us a bit about what you do, and, did you have any issues getting that first job when you finished your studies? So let's meet James.
Okay. The funny story, actually, in high school, I was kind of a average student up until year 12. And then my dad kind of sat me down and was like, hey, this is the last year. You kind of got one shot to just do something.
Yeah.
So I actually buckled down in the last year and actually did really well. I did
So up until year 12, though,
it was
you're just normal,
just average, yeah.
average
Just
student.
bludge, my friends weren't really into it.
Sure. So
So
I think a lot of us can relate.
You're
Yeah.
like a advocate for a 12-month cram.
Something like that, yeah. Pretty much like that. Yeah, so kind of flipped the switch. I think English was actually my worst subject
Okay.
out of all the subjects that I had.
And which ones were they?
So I think like SAD, English, maths. This is going back like more than 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Science, physics, and business studies and whatnot.
Okay. Bit of a mix. But more
Yeah,
on the
but it was
technical
always
side.
English. English was always a big thing
Okay.
for me. And I think for a lot of the students that are out there, English is the compulsory one.
Sure.
So out of all the subjects that you have to do, you have to do English, right?
Yeah.
So if you screw up English, you're kind of screwed, right?
Yeah.
And so I went to Sydney Tech, which was a selective school, so everyone was good at English. Yeah, at everything. So they kind of gave me a choice. It's like, hey, you can do advanced English, which is what everyone's going to do because it scales well, or you can do standard English. But if you do standard English, you're probably not going to get really good marks because it scales downwards, right? So I actually asked a lot of people, like talked to a lot of teachers, my brother who was like 6 years older than me, hey, if I do this, like what's going to happen to my mark, right? And back then we had UAI instead of, I think it's ATAR now.
Yeah, same.
Good
Yeah.
old UAI.
Which year was this?
This was going back to 08.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we were the last year to do UAI, I think.
We were, Yasin and I are 07 graduates, so
Oh,
same
no way.
generation.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, so,
That
yeah.
means we're young.
No, we're all young, mate, don't worry.
Young at heart. Yeah, so I decided to do standard English, and then I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to kill one of the subjects, I'm just going to focus on this.
Okay.
And my mindset was kind of like, well, if everybody's doing advanced English, we're going to compete up against all the other selective schools. James Roos was like one of the top 3, Sydney boys, other people in our grade. Standard English, most people are doing like ESL, do standard English. So the competition wasn't actually that much better. But if you did advanced English, your competition was very strict. You'd have all the schools that do they're really good. So I really focused on that and ended up getting a band 6 for standard English, which carried a lot of the other stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it was more than 10 years ago, but I think it deserves a clap, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, we are the only radio station that has organic claps. We don't press the button, guys. And you can see on James's Instagram page, which we'll share later on the show, that was a real.
That was a real, yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, actually ended up getting 4th in the state for standard English,
wow.
which is a big thing.
That's huge.
But that really carried a lot of the other stuff. So I actually did really well in HSC, and then I got into uni. I was like, well, I spent all my time like studying, like on my here, So coming from like an immigrant background, especially an Asian background, your parents are always like, hey, you should go to school, get a good job, be a doctor, whatever it is, right? And then it's just never, I just didn't see myself doing that. Like, so the first year was kind of bludge because, it's uni. And then the second year was...
Which uni did you go to?
I actually went to
Yeah,
UNSW. So I was doing a double degree marketing and psychology, so commerce and science.
Okay. South Campus.
I just
Yeah,
saw
yeah.
Anna's ears perk up when you said New South.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Little smiley.
Yeah, I went to UNSW as well. It's no big.
Oh, really? What did you study?
Civil engineering.
Oh, sick, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is a back way then. Like, it was... I only kind of did it because it was like, well, I didn't really know what's out there. So I did a really broad degree to kind of test out...
It is flexible.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
interested to hear,
commerce
like,
and science.
Where
yeah.
you went from there.
Yeah, so then I realized that I didn't like any of it. Like, I did... There was accounting and, chemistry and whatnot. And it was really hard. And then my friend actually gave me a audio book, because I didn't really read back then, called Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
And
All-time best.
yeah, I used to bludge all the lectures and stuff and don't go to any of the tutorials. Actually, accounting 1B, I didn't go to any tutorials.
Really?
And I passed with a 51 because the final
Can
exam.
relate.
That's it, mate.
Yeah.
PISA degree.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so then, I listened to the audiobook, and then the main thing that really got me was, hey, if you want to be successful, you gotta learn how to sell. And at the time, I wasn't very confident with doing like presentations and talking to people and stuff like that. So my friend who actually gave me the audiobook, he started doing this door-to-door job, and he's like, hey, I'm doing door-to-door. You want to come learn how to sell stuff to
Just
people?
raw sales.
Just rock
That's
up, learn how to
amazing.
sell people. So we were...
Sell people?
Yeah, no, not sell people,
Is
but...
that legal?
No, no, sell to people, yeah.
Selling people to people?
No, we were selling Telstra actually. So
Okay.
home phone, internet, and go to places and hit them up and be, hey, it's a home phone and internet. So actually the first week he was there, and then after a week he quit. And
Okay.
then I was like, hey, so I was like, dude, man, I got in. You got me like started on this thing, like,
And
and then it's like, hey, well, this is too much for me, so I'm gonna go.
Okay, fair enough.
So I was like, all right, well, I came here to like learn how to talk to people. So
So you continued on.
Yeah, I
you
stuck
did
with
not
it.
give up.
Yeah, I
Okay,
stuck with
so
it.
guys, perseverance.
Yeah.
Very important.
yeah, so I actually stuck with it for about 1.5 years, which is a really big thing. So knock on about couple $100 a day.
And you do get commission.
Commission only, no retainer.
Okay.
So it's purely just commission. So if you didn't make any sales, you didn't make any money.
That's it. Man.
And in my fourth month,
Sink or swim.
fourth month I actually didn't make any sales at all. So I went out every single day for 5 days a week for a whole month and didn't make anything.
That's it.
And
Best lessons learned, I bet.
Yeah.
in That fourth month.
the hardest part was the other people in my group, they were making about $2,000, $3,000 per week.
Wow. And
So
this was back in
this was,
2000.
2000 and, probably 2010.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I mean, back then. I mean, now it's decent dosh as well, but
yeah, but it's still pretty
back
solid.
then it was pretty.
Yeah, and they were guys from overseas, they just came, this is the kind of job that they could get because they didn't have like any previous experience, and then they're coming back with like $2,000 a week. I'm like, well, I went out and did nothing. So that was
And
kind
how
of like,
did that make you feel? What did you take from that?
well, first thing was because I was really there to like learn the skills. I didn't realize this later, but there was a lot of limiting patterns that were there. But at that point in time, it was really tough seeing like, your friends making like more money, and then you went out, you did the same amount of hours, talked to like hundreds of people, you get no's every day, and then you make nothing, right? And you go back to the event and it's like, hey, how did you guys do? And they're like, I just did like $1,500 in sales.
Yeah.
How did you go? I was like, I didn't do anything. So it was a bit humbling, but I was there to really learn the communication thing and, really learn that perseverance, which is a really big thing.
Yeah.
And that really carried me through a lot of the other jobs that I did. But
So
yeah.
you actually gained a lot by not.
Oh, yeah,
playing
absolutely.
That fourth month.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really good month.
Yeah. I wouldn't regret it.
Yeah, I wouldn't regret it either. Yeah. So I actually learned a lot from that.
Okay.
Which actually led me into a lot of the other path. Because of that month, I realized, okay, well, obviously I need to upskill myself because I'm not doing that well. What are some other ways to improve? And Jordan Belfort was actually doing a event in Australia at the time, in Sydney, and me and my friends from high school were like, hey, look, this guy's coming, you're going to go to his event. So we went to his event, and I actually went to one of his sales courses to actually learn how to sell. And it was like a 2-day course. I think it was like a couple $1,000s or something like that. And that's really what opened me up to a lot of the personal development stuff.
So you would recommend going to his courses?
Depends.
Does he still do
He
it?
still does courses.
Yeah.
Like, look
I
at
guess
that.
it depends on what you.
Depends
take
on what you
away.
take away. Yeah. At the time, it was good for me. Looking back, it's still pretty good. But learning what I've learned over the years, there's a lot of different things I would do differently.
Okay, and what did you learn from it?
Well, first thing is.
Or how did you use it, rather?
Oh, okay. Well, the first realization I had was that at the event there was about 200 people, and each of these people paid a couple $1,000s. So in a 3-day event, this guy made about 800 grand. That was a big, that was just a big realization for me. It was like, I'm out here working
That's
8 hours.
a very ethnic way of thinking.
Yeah,
yeah. So there's 200 seats here.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
It's a big thing. So that got me thinking like, hey, I'm out here working like 8 hours a day, maybe making like $1,500 or whatever it is. But this guy just did a 3-day weekend, make 800 grand. So the leverage of what you can do and what you're selling and what kind of approaches you have, there's a lot more ways out there that people can make money.
Yes.
And that's what really opened up a lot of different ways of thinking.
All right, so off the beaten track, and that's what we're talking about today on The Source, guys, that you don't need to go by the theory that, by the book, as Madar said, and, you can go and get inspiration from elsewhere, and that's exactly what